Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today, I'm looking at my top 10 favorite games of all time right now, 2026. This is my 4th anniversary of the channel, and in celebration, this is the 4th time I'm bringing you my top 50 favorite games of all time. And of course, we're going to have a lot of new people to this channel because top 10s really do drive the ratings, the views, the whatever, get people noticing them. So welcome. If it's your first time, I hope you stick around. And if you do want to stick around, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so that we can catch more videos from me. I am still a small channel. I really do welcome everybody who decides to join and follow and stick around. And if you're unfamiliar with me, I do board game content. I'm mostly a solo player, but I do play some other games with friends and family. I play a lot of family games as well with my 2 young children who aren't as young as they were when I started this channel. And I play Euro games is kind of my favorite style of gameplay. So if you're into that kind of content, especially for solo point of view, I do play probably 75% or more of the game solo, then I'm probably a channel you want to stick around for. Anyway, welcome, and let's go ahead and get into my top 10 favorite games of all time. And if you missed my video explaining what I did, be sure to check out 50 to 31. That explains kind of the pub-able process of selecting games. And now let's look at my number 10 favorite game of all time as of right now. This game was number 29 last year, so it came up 19 slots. That's not surprising because last year I got a new expansion for it with the new solo mode included, and this is Clans of Caledonia. Clans of Caledonia is a game I randomly kickstarted way back when I was first getting into kickstarting board gaming and all that, back in 2017 when it came out, I think. And I just was interested in the concept of placing people on the map, getting goods and resources, and managing the market. This is definitely my favorite market management game. It's one of the few I've played, actually. But as you're playing the game, you're spending resources, or I should say selling and trading them in for points and money, and then using that money to drive continued turns. It's a game where you want to just play as long as you can by making the most of your limited funds to build more funds for each round. You're scoring at the end of each round goals, and then at the end of the game, you're scoring for how well you've kind of spread out your clans on the map, as well as the things you've done along the way to earn resources and money and things like that. I just have really enjoyed Clans of Caledonia ever since I first got it, and I'm so happy I now have a solo mode so I can get it to the table a lot more. I've already done that a couple times since receiving that new solo mode. So hats off to Karma Games for providing a great game with their first game. I'm pretty sure it was their first game, and now they've got a few other games that I also enjoy. Didn't quite make the top 50 list, but maybe sometime in the future. So Clans of Caledonia, my number 10 favorite game of all time. My number 9 favorite game of all time as of right now also rose quite a bit. It was 25 last year, and I can't even explain its rise other than Pub Meeple. But Hamburg is my favorite Stefan Feld game. I'm just kidding. But it is one of my favorite Stefan Feld games, and it's my favorite in the city's collection of redos, remakes, and some new games in that collection from Queen Games. But Hamburg is a re-implementation of the game called Bruges, which I've never played, but it includes Bruges with some adjustments and updates and all the modules kind of built in, or at least included in the box if they're not built into the standard game. So it took an already well-received Stefan Feld game and just updated it and made it better. And again, I haven't played the original, so I can't, I guess, speak for how much better it is, but I know people really like this game. They really like Bruges, and Stefan Feld just kind of knocked it out of the park, bringing Hamburg to life. But in Hamburg, basically what you're doing is you're building up your city of Hamburg using different colored cards, which have different action capabilities on them. And you're also using dice drafting to select items and things that match your card play. So you're using a combination of kind of colored cards and colored dice to make your actions happen. But you can also not have to match colors and dice to make plays. But you can use the cards multiple ways. You can use them to kind of create a foundation for a house, or you can use them as a house on top of one of your foundations already played. You can use them to help protect the city from various elements that could hamper you. You can also use them to advance up tracks and all kinds of things. But it's hard to kind of explain everything there is. It's a Stefan Feld classic point salad game re-implemented with the new Cities collection. and that is Hamburg. My number 8 favorite game was number 16 last year, so another one that rose into the top 10, replacing the 3 that I've mentioned before that fell out of the top 10. And this game is The Magnificent. And this is a game I don't think a lot of people talk about very often, but I just adore this game. The color scheme is hit or miss for people. I like it. I like the black with the neon colors. It's just a unique style of game. And what I really like about this game is the tight action selection, because you've got 4 turns per round for 3 rounds, and you're using dice drafting from a common pool. So you're basically racing the other players out to draft the colored dice you want to perform an action at that colored power based on the other dice that you've already played that round on your cards. And you're playing them onto cards, which could give you a boost to the action or additional action or whatever the case is for that card. And then at the end of the round, you're going to get rid of one of those action cards, draft a new one, and use that for in the round scoring and in the game scoring at the end of the game. So you're really paying attention to the cards you're getting, the dice you're drafting, and the actions you're taking. And there really are only 3 main actions in this game. So it's super simple to teach. I think the rule book's like 3 whole pages, but it has so much depth of strategy that it's such a good game. You really need to maximize, like I said, your 12 actions through 3 rounds, and there's only 3 actions. So you need to manage how you're building up your circus and getting your performers to perform to maximize your points and money. Because at the end of each round, you're also going to have to pay for whichever color dice you spent the most on, the dice that have the most pips. If you can't end up paying for the dice at the end of the round, you're actually going to lose points for it. So that's just a really neat mechanism of making sure you can account for what you did at the end of the round. I really enjoy The Magnificent. I don't think enough people talk about it. As we move into my number 7 favorite game of all time, we're finally hitting the ones that have stayed in the top 10. So everything from 7 on up has been in the top 10 before. I mean, those games below have also, I think, been in the top 10 in the past, but these are the ones that were here last year. And number 7 was number 5 last year. So just a little tweak in its location. This is Orleans, and this is just a little bit of lack of play. Orleans is a bag building game where you're just going out and doing things around Orleans to get more workers into your bag, and eventually you're getting them out of your bag and send them to the town hall, I think it is, and you can collect resources and things there. But more importantly, that's your mill mechanism, as if it was a card building game. As you mill those workers out, you're kind of organizing what's left in your bag. But I think you can only do 2 a round normally, unless you get one of the special buildings that let you send more out. So it's just a game where you're managing your workers to get more workers and resources and things as you explore around France, starting in Orleans, and build up your kind of walls and fortress and things like that in your own little board that is your own little kind of village of Orleans. I've always enjoyed this game ever since I first acquired it. It's just such a great bag building experience. There's so many expansions for it now, I think 3 or 4. I really want to get my hands on the one that is the co-op solo style. I think there might be another one that has a solo version. And that's part of the problem with Orleans for me, is I can't really play it that often because it doesn't have a solo mode. But I think it is on Board Game Arena, so I could play it more often if I tried. But anyway, that's Orleans, my number 7 favorite game of all time. My number 6 favorite game of all time as of 2026 is a game that rose 2 spots in the ranks. So it kind of flipped places with Orleans a little bit. And this is Rococo. Rococo is a game about making clothing for rich aristocrats and sending them to the ball. Not a theme I'd normally get into, but just the gameplay is so good. You've got cards that have basically 3 levels of power on them and actions you're going to use based on the cards you play. And the cards are going to give you a bonus action as you play it too, usually. So you got a hand of cards, you're just going to play one and do an action related to the level of that card. The gold cards can do every action, whereas I think it's gold, silver, bronze. But the bronze card can only do a few of the actions. And all those actions revolve around getting cloth and thread and patterns and helpers to add to your hand collection, of course, to continue to make these clothing, dresses, and suits. And then when you make them, you can either sell them for money that you're going to need for making more things, or for buying the things you need to make the clothing, of course. So you're managing your money, you're managing your action cards, you're managing your actions, and more importantly, there's a little area control of every section of the palace. I think it's a palace. Wherever you're sending these rich people out to go and do their dancing and show off their clothing. And as you score those area controls at the end of the game, you're going to score more points. You're scoring points for placement. You're scoring points for a lot of things as this game goes along too. So it's all the things I love: card management, action management, resource management, racing out for area control and point collection. Everything's points. Everything's a really thoughtful experience that you're just doing in this brilliant Euro game with a theme that I wouldn't normally have thought I'd get into. But every time I play Rococo, I just really enjoy it. And it's time to get into my top 5 favorite games of all time as of February 2026. Starting with the one that rose from number 9 last year. This is the White Castle. And the White Castle, again, just like I mentioned before, it's tight action selection, tight resource management. And this game is even extra tight as you're drafting dice from the common pool again. Dice drafting, I enjoy. You're placing them onto spots on the game board, and you can either earn money or you have to pay money depending on the value of the dice against the value of the spot that you're taking. And then the dice are going to act kind of as the workers out there on that spot, and they're going to perform an action based on the color of the dice that aligns with the color die required for each action on the cards or on the spot. And you're going to use those actions to send your workers out, or to gather resources, or to perform other actions. And what you're trying to do in this game, because you, I think, get 3 rounds of 3 dice drafting. So I think it's 9 total turns. Don't quote me on that. It might be 12, but it's something like that, just like the Magnificent. It's such a tight turn action game, dice drafting game, that I just really enjoy. You really want to try to combo yourself, set yourself up for combos, because some of the actions will let you take an action, and then that action will let you take another action. But you can't take those actions if you don't have the resources to pay for the action. So you really want to make sure you're making the most of your turns. And some turns might just be gathering the resources for a future combo-tastic turn. The White Castle is a game that I knew I would like from the first time I saw it. And the first time I played it, I just really enjoyed it. It's a tight game of dice drafting and action management, along with a little bit of engine building. As you pull the board out, you're going to be able to take actions on your board that you've built up for, and get bonus actions that you've built up for from certain dice placement. And then because you've built that, you've got those extra actions later in the game too. So White Castle is just such a great Euro game in such a small box. It's really surprising how good this game is for how little the box is. And now we've got our first shakeup on the list. My number 4 was number 1 last year. Fallen 3 spots. Math is hard. It fell 3 spots to make way for 3 games to move up. And this is Ark Nova. I still really enjoy Ark Nova. I love the elements of the play. I just love the fact that you're playing cards on a power board, basically. As the cards go further to the right, they become more powerful actions. And then when you take that action, they go all the way back to start, and you got to build them back up again. So it's a really timing game. It's got that action selection, card selection style of play that I've talked about in a few of the games recently, but it's on a board in front of you. And you're just cycling the same 5 cards the whole game, but you can upgrade them as the game goes on, and they become a little bit more powerful at their actions. And I love just the zoo building theme. There's so many cards with so many animals and sponsorships and things to add to your zoo and conservation projects. And it's got the 2 tracks where one's going one way, one's going the other way, with different points that you're gaining in the game. And once they crisscross, that's when the game ends. And then you see who crisscrossed the best. It's just such a neat concept of, I know that's stolen from other games for the in-game scoring. And I know action selection exists before. I've talked about it already. And engine building a bit as you lay out your zoo. It's got polyomino as you're building your zoo up. You've got to meet what's on your grid and put the habitats in correctly and properly, so that way they fit together. And then you can get rewards from their placement on the board and help build up for your future turns. It's just a lot of good, not too complex planning actions, because you know what your layout is for your actions, you know what you've got in your hand, and you've got to adjust all the time. There's so many cards, you can't just build a strategy and assume it's going to work out. Sometimes you just never see those cards again. I've started numerous games where I thought I was going to go heavy on apes because I had 2 apes at the beginning, and then I never saw another ape come out the rest of the game. So you just got to be ready to adjust. It's got that tactical gameplay as well as the strategic gameplay of the card roll. Just a great game. My number 4, Ark Nova. My number 3 game of all time was number 4 last year. So moved up the 1 spot after Ark Nova fell a little bit. And really, all these are interchangeable at this point. I think White Castle isn't interchangeable. I think that's the cutoff. But my numbers 4 through 1 interchangeable. Anyway, Revive is a game where you're using cards and you're putting them into slots on your board to activate them to gather resources or take specific actions on the board. And those actions on the board involve kind of going out and exploring and flipping over these tiles to see what kind of resources they offer and what kind of villages and placement you can have for your people and your buildings to go out and collect resources. And as you venture further out to the corners of the board, that's where you can put your people to gain in-game scoring. And those are out ahead of time, so you can kind of know which way you want to go based on how you want to play your game. But this is another one of those games where you're just trying to get the most out of your turns. This game doesn't have a specific number of turns. It just goes until all those in-game resources are gathered up, basically. As you meet certain milestones and explore certain things, you're going to be eligible to take one. And they come in 3 colors, and you've got an in-game scoring card. And based on the number of which color you take, that's how many multipliers you're going to get for whatever you have done towards that in-game scoring card that you have. So you want to go out and collect those, but those drive the game. So not a set amount of rounds, but you can kind of see how the game's progressing as people get closer and closer to ending it on you. And you're just using card action, resource management to take actions. And you don't have to use card actions. You've also got the basic actions of explore and populate, I think it is, and develop, where you're putting your buildings out, you're putting your people out, or you're exploring those new tiles and flipping them over so you can see what's on the other side of them. So those are the free actions, and then you've got 4 card slots where you can slip cards in, and you can gather additions to those slots to get you more resources based on the card colors. And some of the cards let you play another card. So it's just one of those games where you're trying to maximize your resources, maximize your actions, maximize your abilities, and maximize your points most of all. Revive, just a great little game. It comes with a solo campaign, or not even a solo campaign. But the game starts out and says, here's the basic rules, go play. And then you can open up the next module. But it's not really a module. It's just a little bit more rules and stuff that you're adding. And then after you kind of add that new stuff in, you got another one. And I think there's 5 total. So you can start with the basic game and just play that, or you can go along and throw in all the rules and all the modules, all the activities, all the special character cards, all the tiles that you flip, and they can give you new special abilities. So it's just a lot in the box. I haven't even explored it all on my own. I have explored it all on Board Game Arena, and Revive is a game I keep playing constantly, mostly on Board Game Arena now, because it's easier, and it's easier to get to play with other people that way. But just really great games, Revive. And that leaves 2 left, and maybe you can guess what they are if you've been around for a minute or 3. And my number 2 game was number 3 last year, moved up 1 spot, which means my number 2 game also moved up 1 spot to number 1. But my number 2 game is my favorite Stefan Feld game of all time. And it's a classic Stefan Feld game. This is the Castles of Burgundy. In the Castles of Burgundy, you're just rolling 2 dice and then using those 2 dice on your turn, 2 draft tiles from a spot 1 through 6 that correlate to the die number, die faces, and then put them in your player board. And then the other thing you can do is take them from your player board and put them where they go on your board. Well, I should say they're on your holding spot of your player board. And then the second action is take them from your holding spot and put them onto your actual player board. And you've got to follow adjacency rules. You got to follow color placement rules. And as you're building up around your castle, you're building buildings, you're building cathedrals, you're building waterways, trade routes, you're building up farms, pastures, and get animals. And every card scores differently based on either what kind it is, like the animals all score the same, even though there's different animals, or every building does a special thing, or I forget what they are, the yellow ones. They either give you a cheat code for the rest of the game or in-game points. And then the mines are going to be your way to generate income every round. And you're just taking turns, taking 2 actions basically every turn. Sometimes more, depending on like I said, the things you're placing could give you an additional action. But you're just managing 2 dice 5 times around for 5 rounds, I think it is. So 25 turns using 2 dice, 2 draft tiles, and place tiles constantly. There's a little bit more to it, but that's the gist of the game. And everything you do is going to score you points. You're racing to complete sectors. You're racing to be the first one to get all your mines in, or all the buildings built, or, whatever that is. You're going to score points for just being the first one to do something. You're going to score more points for just doing it quicker. If you get it done a round sooner, you're going to get extra points than if you did it the next round. It's so simple and yet so thought-provoking. I don't normally like dice games because of the randomness. But just like in dice drafting games, you've got the information in front of you before your turn. You're not going out there and then hoping you roll good. You know what you've rolled already, and then you work from there. So it becomes that little bit of tactical decision making as opposed to strategic planning and then hoping you don't fail. Castles of Burgundy, just a great classic game. I've enjoyed it from day one. And along with Hamburg, it helped just tell me that Stefan Feld is a great game designer, and I look forward to playing more and more of his games. I know he's got so many classic games I haven't touched, as well as all the new games that he keeps putting out. Continuing to seek out more Stefan Feld games because they've always been just so good. And my number one favorite game of all time as of 2026 is a game that is not new to my list, not even new to being number one. It's been number one more than any other game I've ever had in this spot. It is Concordia. And Concordia is just another one of those classic games. In Concordia, you're managing a hand of cards that are your actions. And every turn, you're going to play one of those cards and do what it says on the card. The rule book for this is so small. It's a sheet of paper, I think. Maybe it's 2 sides. The game is so easy to play, at least to play. The cards all tell you what they do. Play the travel card. I'm going to move all my workers, the number of spots equal to my number of workers, whether it's one worker moving all those spots or each worker moving one spot. And then I'm going to build at an adjacent city or 2 or 3 for the cost of resources and money that it takes to build there. If I'm playing the console card, I'm going to go to the card row and buy a new card in my hand for the price of the card that's listed underneath the card on the board. And then I've got a new card in my hand, and that new card is new actions. But in addition to that, every card has a god that it is trying to appease, those Roman gods. And to appease them, you're going to do what they want you to do. So the card action basically is going to tell you what that god's going to score. And the more times you have that god in your hand at the end of the game, the more times that thing you did is going to score you. So if I ended up with 5 of Mars, for example, I'm going to score 5 times the number of times I did what Mars wanted me to do. I don't remember what he is offhand. Sorry. Could be like, how many times did I build one of my cities on the board? And those cities on the board are in zones, and every zone produces some kind of good. And one of the actions is to produce in a zone. And so you produce in an area, and then whoever's built in that area will produce whatever that area produces for them. So early on, you're not producing much. But as you spread around the board, every time somebody produces, you're probably going to get something. But you've got limited storage space on your board, so the timing of that sometimes could hurt you if you haven't used those resources to get yourself more and more actions or money. It's just one of those games where, again, requires a lot of planning with what you've got in your hand. All that knowledge is there. You know what you have in your hand. The board state is constantly changing because of what other players are doing around the board. So it's got that interaction, but it's not dirty interaction other than maybe they built in that one spot you were about to build to. And now it just costs you more to build there. And you've got resource management. You've got limited capacity. So you need to cycle your resources as best you can to generate more money because money is super tight and you need money to do some of the actions. You need workers out to do the actions. You need to manage your cards because if you don't have that many cards, you're going to be wasting the turn playing that get every card back card. Whereas if you can go out and get those cards in your hand, you're going to have those cards the rest of the game and more action options for you and more in-game scoring options because again, the number of gods you have in the game is going to score you based on what those gods wanted you to do. And that's also going to drive the end of the game because the game ends once either the cards run out for purchase or once somebody runs out of all their buildings and they can no longer go out and explore the world and build new villages. So it is a little bit of a race to get either one of those 2 things done while also doing everything else. It's just everything I really enjoy about a good Euro, simple but complex, and so much to manage and think about and strategize as best you can around what everybody else around the board is doing. It's got a brilliant solo expansion. It's one of my favorite solo expansions, solo modes of a game ever. because your decisions drive your opponent's decisions. There's no randomness to it, like a deck of Atoma cards or dice rolls or whatever sometimes dictate your opponent's moves or beat your score. Those are really boring. This game, your actions in the solo game dictate your opponent's actions. You can see it right there on the card. You're just playing with a different hand of action cards, and the top half is what you're doing, and the bottom half is what your opponent's doing when you do that action. And it's going to usually be something that's opposite of your action. So presumably what your next action might be, your opponent's now going to do it one turn ahead of you. A lot of great stuff in Concordia. It's a game I always enjoy going back to, an old classic, and my number one favorite game of all time as of right now, and numerous years in the past. Again, if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe below to come back for more videos from me revolving around the world of tabletop gaming. I really do appreciate you being here. If it's your first time, if it's your 400th time, I don't have that many videos, 200 some. And comment below your thoughts on my top 10. What are your favorite games, especially if they've got all that meaty goodness that I've talked about in most of these top 10 games. And I haven't mentioned it before. I probably haven't played it. And hopefully I've heard of it, but maybe I haven't. So if you can let me know what they might be, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see you in the next one. Bye.